I became interested in von Hildebrand I was introduced to von Hildebrand, I should say, during my time at the Russell Kirk Center for Cultural Renewal in Michigan, where the lady running the center, Annette Kirk, handed me a copy of Alice von Hildebrand's The Soul of a Lion. That was my first introduction to Hildebrand, and as I am German and also a convert, I immediately felt a certain affinity and in fact immediately felt a certain healthy pride that there was a German Catholic who had such integrity to oppose what in our national history is, of course, a very dark period, and he was on the side of light, as it were. And that was my introduction to Hildebrand, and I remember saying at the time, you know, I really would like to write something about this man sometime in my academic future. Little did I know that I would end up spending much time in my PhD writing about him so soon. I'm an intellectual historian, so I write about Hildebrand's work, non-philosophical work, his contribution to public discourses in the interwar period, so between World War I and World War II. I ask questions like, what interested him, what caught his curiosity in the Catholic intellectual milieu, what was discussed at the time, and what was his particular contribution. So I do not follow him specifically when he speaks philosophically. I follow him, for instance, when he speaks about the spiritual life, about culture, the priority of the spiritual life over culture. I discuss a discourse in which he vehemently opposes new sociologies flooding into the Catholic intellectual milieu, defending a kind of totalitarian statism that we then later see. Those are the kinds of things that I'm interested in, that I'm writing on. So it's biographical and slightly intellectual, but not primarily philosophical. The reason why I came to the seminar and why I'm really grateful that I can be here is because I do think that Hildebrand's life is marked by such integrity that you cannot separate, without due great violence to him, you cannot separate his philosophy, his philosophizing, if you wish, his living his philosophy, living his Catholic faith. So I take from this seminar, which is obviously an introduction to value, his value philosophy, very much, and it illuminates what I study in my PhD. I think in the same vein that the Legacy Project promotes Hildebrand in a way through his life. That is, here's a man of great integrity who fought great evils, and he has something to say about philosophy. He is a philosopher. In the same way, I would think that unearthing more of what he has done in his life, in his intellectual life, what he has seen, what he has addressed, what he has clarified, will ultimately also bring more people to be interested in his philosophy. Again, because there is that integrity, right? So that's where I see a connection. There's integrity and there's integrity, right? So you could take it as to mean that he stood by his convictions, right? So whatever he taught, he lived, the opposite of a hypocrite. But that's true for even those who have bad ideas, right? So with Hildebrand, not only did he have good ideas, loved the truth, sought the truth. Let me rephrase that. Not only did he have that integrity that made him live his ideas, but those ideas were also true, good, beautiful. I think that is what distinguishes him. And also, because of his keen ability to observe trends in the age, other scholars much more renowned than myself have made that point. His students have made that point, that he had a sort of a nose for the trends of his age, the trends of the time. Allowed him to predict and to oppose very early things like Nazism, but other things as well. I mean, he's one of the earliest critics of various trends in the Catholic intellectual milieu that then later turn out to be quite detrimental to the faith and to the life of Catholics, specifically in Germany and in Austria. What I particularly like about the seminar are those sessions in which we have Dr. Crosby and another faculty member, in this case so far Dr. Sanford, present, and two very learned scholars, men, discuss together. So oftentimes, if you notice, all us participants are of course offering questions, and we're getting great answers. But then there are moments when Dr. Crosby and Dr. Sanford talk to one another, and witnessing that is extremely fruitful. I'm thinking of John Sr., who did that at the University of Kansas. And I think that can be particularly beneficial, to just witness two learned, wise minds talk with each other about those things that we come here to explore. That struck me as a very, and unexpectedly, as a very, very beneficial element of the sessions. I very much appreciate the spirit of collegiality and, in a certain way, friendship that is developing very quickly. We're only 2 days into, 2.5 days into the seminar, and I enjoy being with everyone here. What are the reasons for that? I don't quite know. I think that there is a certain presence of character and love of the truly good and the beautiful here that is lived. So that is very, very enjoyable, very good. Regarding the first question, the effect on me and my own work, much of because I've been with Hildebrand now for some time, because I'm working, I can't turn my attention fully ever really to Hildebrand, but he's been with me and I with him, so to say, for a couple of years now. And so what I gather is renewed energy, renewed strength to really continue with my work with greater intensity. And so it has really renewed my spirit, as it were, and my desire to write more and to learn more, and to finish my PhD. I mean, you know, PhD is always described as a marathon, and you're always lucky when sort of sometime along the way you get a nice cup of water, and this is certainly more than a cup of water, but it allows me to keep running, and that's personally for me what the seminar is doing, has done. For the other participants, I don't know. I would imagine, since the seminar also tries to bring into conversation the Aristotelian Thomistic tradition and the teachings of Dietrich von Hildebrand, that is very fruitful in and of itself, because as I like to say, we're all Aristotle, as he is sort of baptized by Thomas and Hildebrand. We're playing for the same team. We're playing for the team that is in the pursuit of truth. We're also playing for the team that is ultimately leading into the Catholic Church and into the faith. I think that just recognizing that, I hope the participants take away, that despite the differences of methodology, despite the different views of, perhaps different views of the moral life, there are essential similarities that, granted, need to be clarified, need to be worked out more, but I think that the very fact that there's a conversation that is initiated and pursued in the spirit that it is pursued here is a good in and of itself, a value perhaps in and of itself. And I hope that all of us take away a desire to continue that conversation and that effort at, I wouldn't want to call it reconciliation, even though that is not totally unfitting in light of von Hildebrand's personal encounter with Thomism. But that spirit of learning more about the other side, so to say, and coming to more to see similarities. And I'm thoroughly convinced that the way to do this is to recognize that there is a stream that is the Catholic intellectual tradition, that is a very wide stream with many contributors, but that ultimately it flows in the same direction, and we're all swimming in the same direction. I think that that's important.